Welcome to the Football Pyramid Talk podcast. Available to listen to on YouTube and Spotify. George, Simon and Sterling as your hosts. 7 different leagues. Enjoy the episode. Hello everybody and welcome back to the Football Pyramid Talk podcast. Episode 5 today is season 2 as we get back into the EFL for League One predictions. How are we, fellas? A new day, a new dawn, another prediction video.
All
Yeah,
good. Nice and happy.
Good. Yeah, we were at the Lewis versus Whitehawk game yesterday. The match day vlog should be out now, but we are filming this on a Wednesday to try tick off all of these predictions videos before the start of the season on Friday night. So, League One today, as I said before, very entertaining league last season with, Lincoln and Cardiff going at it for most of it, but Lincoln getting that shot promotion and teams like Rotherham coming down into this division for this season. So what did you make of this division last season and also just this division in general going into this season?
That's my favourite division, I think. It's a great to see Lincoln doing so well. There's lots of excitement with teams getting into the playoff positions and staying up with last kicks of the game.
Yeah.
As we've said before, there's some massive clubs in this division, and there's even even bigger clubs in there now. So
yeah,
I know it's the third tier, but it is a huge division. So it's going to be really interesting watching this season.
Yeah, it's definitely quality all the way up and down it. Last season was really good playoffs, and then obviously seeing Lincoln get the title in the end was really good. Bit of a 2-horse race at the top, but the playoffs was really interesting. Loads of quality, so hoping for the same this season.
Yeah, hoping for the same. We've got some incredible teams coming down into this division, obviously. We've got the likes of Leicester, Sheffield Wednesday coming into it, teams like that. So absolutely packed with teams that are full of quality. I just realised, I said Rotherham at the start, they did get relegated to League Two. They're not in this division. I don't know if I said that at the start, but just wanted to reassure myself. But yeah, we'll be going from alphabetical order again. So start off with AFC Wimbledon, right from the top, who stayed in the division, as you said, Simon, last-minute winners last season were a real thing that were, real high up in the, in the gods, really, for fans, especially for Wimbledon fans when they got that iconic away win to keep them up on the second to last day at Wigan to secure safety in this division for this season. Made a couple of signings, brought in James Tilley on a undisclosed free after he had a successful loan move last season, and also brought in Stephen Sessegnon from Wigan as well. So a couple of good signings. Got an experienced manager in Johnny Jackson.
Brother?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, he was. I always remember him when he played for Charlton when he bloody beat Brighton in the Carabao Cup, and I remember him having a stormer away at their ground. But yeah, he's at Wimbledon now, so see how he gets on there. A couple of other signings and departures like Patrick Bauer to Cambridge. So I think they're going to struggle this season. I think they got very lucky last season. I don't know if you remember the run of form they had. It was absolutely shambolic, and that's the reason they were in the position they were in. So I've got them in 21st. I think they'll challenge, but I just think this time round they'll fall into the drop zone for me in 21st.
Yeah, I've got them in 23rd. I think they'd be lucky to escape relegation, frankly. They last kick of the game to stay up at Wigan. They haven't really done anything to change that squad, I don't think. Last week, they signed Jayden Stockley last week, which, is going to help them. Because he played at Charlton, didn't he, under the manager there. I think in 2018, he scored more headed goals than any other player in top flight European football, or in the top leagues in European football. Yeah,
More
Yeah.
than Vuskovic.
his nickname
Yeah.
was the headmaster of Charlton. But yeah, I mean, he will help. Skill score some goals, but I just don't think there's any quality in that squad. And the fact of the matter is, they're just um, one of the lowest budgets in the league, so they haven't got money to spend anyway. So even with Stockley signing, I don't think they're going to stay up, unfortunately.
Yeah, I've got them staying up, but I've only got them in 20th. I think I think it's going to be a similar season to what they had last year. They have brought in a bit of quality, obviously James Tilley, Steven Sessegnon, but I don't know how much quality they've got in terms of being able to keep them or get them much higher up the table than where I've got them. James Tilley's never really kicked on from being at the Albion. He had quite big potential actually, but
Yeah,
he's
he
never
did.
kicked. Steven
Mm.
Sessegnon's a good player, but I just don't think it's going to be enough to, push him up the table. I thought him just surviving again in 20th.
Yeah, we've all got them doing around the same here after not much change really has happened at the club after staying up by the skin of their teeth really last season. So let's see if they can do the same this time round. But moving on to Barnsley, who had a poor season for their standards, in 15th place last season, under Conor Hourihane, who will now not be their manager. I think he's joined the coaching staff at Leicester under Russell Martin as an assistant manager. So that was interesting. He's been replaced by a manager returning to the club in Daniel Stendel. So, familiar face at the club who will be trying to get them back into the Championship, which they've been away from for a couple of seasons now. Made a couple of signings. Kieran Slicker on loan from Ipswich is one that rings a bell, and Amani Richards on a permanent transfer from Leicester. But they've lost some key players like Max Watt, as we spoke about in our League Two episode, going to League in our League Two episode for Port Vale. It's an interesting move from him to go to the league below, but also like Adam Phillips going to Bradford, 9 goals, 5 assists from midfield last season. Is big losses there. So for me, I've got Barnsley bang on at mid-table in 12th for me. I just think they did all right last season, but now they've got a familiar face and they've made a couple of decent signings. I think I just don't think I think they'll do a little bit better from having a familiar manager with a lot of experience. I remember seeing a couple of good signings in there, but they've just lost too many key players for me that will help help them take that next step and go into challenging for the playoff places for me. So I've got them in 12th place.
Yeah, I've got them 15th. They've obviously got some quality in the squad, but I don't think they've got enough quality to challenge, and they haven't got that much money to spend either. It's a shame to see Hurahan leave there because he started like a house on fire last August. I think they
Yeah,
won 5 out of 5.
they're on
They're
fire.
Um,
top of
Yeah.
the table.
Mm.
yeah, so they really lost momentum after that. And as you say, they've lost some key players as well. But I think overall they've got enough quality to stay up. They fifth season at this level, so they probably want to be challenging, but I just don't think they've got the financial muscle when we talk about some of the other clubs in this division to compete, unfortunately. So 15th for me.
I think they'll compete. I don't agree that they won't compete. I've got them in 8th. Purely because they had such a good start to the season last year, really. That's why I've got them so high. And the manager knows about the club. I think they've signed some good young players. I know Adam Phillips going to Bradford is a big loss, but they signed some good young players there. It looks like
Yeah.
Isaac Smith from City's academy, Amani Richards from Leicester looks a good player. Sam Gale from Gillingham as well. Some good young players. I think they'll do all right, but I just don't see enough for them to push on. But I think
Yeah.
push on really to like playoffs and really competing to get promoted. But I think they'll do all right. I think 8th is a fair position, in my opinion.
No, fair enough. Yeah, I think I'm sort of similar to you there. I think they'll have moments of competing, but just not enough really to find themselves into them playoff places. But yeah, about 15th, 12th, and 8th there. So bit differences in league positions, but none of us having them anywhere near the playoffs going into this season. So we'll have to wait and see if they prove us wrong with that. Moving on to Blackpool, who ended the season in 13th, but had a lot of glimpses of being into the relegation zone until Ian Evatt really came in and saved the club and turned around their season massively. Really good manager, was at Bolton before that, and came in and sort of implemented his style of play and really turned around their season. Lost a couple of crucial players like Ashley Fletcher, who got 15 goals, 4 assists for them last season and was their player of the season. So that's going to be one that's going to be hard to, replace in that forward line. But they've replaced him with Dion Charles on loan from Huddersfield, who's a great striker at the level. Karoy Anderson from Charlton's a good side, and Jordan Williams as well there on loan from Portsmouth. But couple of key departures, as I said there, but they've replaced them pretty well. I've got them in 11th place. I think under Ian Evatt, they'll do about the same. I think Blackpool just haven't invested enough to be able to push in towards them playoff places for me, because I think this league, as Simon said right at the start of this episode, it's such a competitive league this season, and if you're getting into the playoffs, at least you're seen as a really good side. So I just don't think Blackpool have enough this time round. 11th place for me.
Yeah, I've got them 10th. I think they have lost some crucial players like Ashley Fletcher, but those signings that you talked about coming on loan, George, I think are going to
Help
just
them, yeah.
augment that. Well, they had a really good finish to last season, so they'll probably go into this season with a bit of momentum. And they've sort of maintained the quality of the squad. So
Yeah.
I don't think they'll struggle. But they just another club that, with some of those big beasts not in the division, would probably be challenging for the playoff places. But I don't see them competing. So I've got them 10th.
Yeah, it's a big question is whether they can keep that momentum going. Obviously, you've mentioned the incomings and outgoings. I just don't think there's enough really for them to push on. I've got them in 14th. I think they'll do all right. Ian It's obviously done really well there last season. So I think they'll do better than what they did last season throughout the season, being consistent.
Yeah.
Consistency wise, I think they'll do better. I don't think they're going to struggle as much as they did at times, but I don't think they're going to kick on. They finished 13th. I've gone finishing 14th this season.
Yeah, they're a team that, has got a really good manager in there, but for us there, I think we just don't think they've invested enough to be able to compete with some of the teams we've got above them. So let's see if they prove us wrong, but we've got them in and around them playoff places. Moving on to Bradford City, who had an incredible rise up the leagues last season. Really impressive. Getting into the playoff semi-final after getting promoted the season before from League Two, finishing fourth in the league season. Club captain leaving and Max Power is going to be a real hit, which I think was a bit surprising to a lot of fans after, a successful season. But they've replaced him really well, as we said just then. Adam Phillips coming in from Barnsley for an undisguised fee, as I said earlier, got 15 goals, 4 assists. I said or something like that from midfield. Callum Connolly from Stockport's a really good defender. Obviously, has that playoff experience as well from last season. Marcus Gillespie from Charlton as well. Really good signing at the back. So I think they've invested very well at the back and also going forward. But as I said, departures there. Jensen Matcliffe going to Millwall as well for an undisclosed fee. So a couple of key departures leaving the door. I just think the league's got a bit more competitive this season for me. So I've got them in 9th, falling off just a little bit. But I still think they'll compete for the playoffs. No question about that. I just think the teams above them going into the season will have a little bit more for me. So 9th place.
I've got them 4th. I think they will build on that momentum from last season. They're a bit of a surprise package, I think, for some clubs. So there is that danger of that sophomore season and then falling off a little bit this season. But when you look at the quality of players they signed and pick out Phillips and Connolly as 2 outstanding signings, I think they're going to really boost the quality of that squad. So although they may suffer from that second season syndrome to an extent, I think, and they are one of the big clubs at this division. They might not be recognised as such, but we spoke
They
last
are.
season about some of their games having 24,000 people there, which is going to be not the norm, I don't think, this season, but they will expect us maybe half their games to be at least that level. So they're well supported. And I think that quality that they've got and augmenting it is going to push them right up there. So I'm gonna tip them for a playoff place in 4th.
Yeah, I agree with you, Dad. I've got him in 4th as well. I think the key departures going out, they seem to have replaced them quite well with the players coming in that you've mentioned, and I think they'll build on what they did last season. They went out in the semi-finals to Bolton, who went on to win the playoffs last season and get promoted. So it was a good season all round. Yeah, I think they're going to build on that, and 4th again. Probably would have had them higher if it wasn't for a few of the other big names that are coming to this division, but I think they'll have a good season again, Bradford, and be challenging.
Yeah, I've got them just outside challenging for the playoffs, but not getting in there. You both have them in the playoffs, seeing if they can get back into the championship going into next season. But moving on to our next team. Hold on a second. Where's my mouse? There it is. Bromley is up next, a new team into this division, getting into the league for the first time in their history after they won the league on the last day in League Two. This comes after a real dramatic rise, National League in 2024, and now in 2026 they're playing League One football in the same league as the likes of Leicester and Sheffield Wednesday. So massive rise for them, which a lot of fans would not have expected. Be a real challenge for them, obviously. 6,000 fans, we were speaking in the car about it yesterday, Simon, how it's going to be a real struggle in terms of, fans going away from home and stuff like that, because they're a very, in terms of club statures in this league, they are a very small club compared to some other clubs. So being really interesting to see how they do get on. Made a couple of good signings as well. Ethan Archer on loan from Luton is a good signing out wide. Jacob Mendy from Peterborough used to play for Wrexham. So a couple of good signings in there. A lot more that I haven't mentioned, but a couple of key departures like Jude Arthur's leaving to Crawley, Sam Long going to Salford, to name 2 of them in there. But for me, I just think this league's so competitive, and I just don't think they'll have enough. Personally, I've got them in 22nd. I'd love to see him stay up, of course, because it's just such a dramatic rise that they're having, and it's such a small football club that's just keeps going from step to step. But I just think that they haven't, they've added a lot, but I think the quality that they've had added just isn't going to be enough for me personally. Bringing in players from Harrogate, Wealdstone, to name 2 clubs, I just think they need a bit more quality from higher leagues. So for me, I've got them in 22nd in the relegation zone.
Yeah, 21st for me. But I mean, they're a tiny club at this level, unfortunately. They've not got the experience in the squad at playing at this level. They haven't got the institutional knowledge of playing at this level. They're going to be up against clubs that, whatever way you look at it, are probably 3 or 4 times bigger than them in terms of financial muscle, attendance, and that League One know-how. So I think they do well to stay up. It's not inconceivable. I mean, we've seen how well Lincoln did last season, but
100%.
Lincoln got a lot of experience playing League One football, League Two football, and I think Bromley have just risen too fast, personally. So I think 21st, unfortunately, and going back down to League Two.
Yeah, agreed. I've got him 21st as well. I just think it's going to be too tough for him in this division this season. Echo what you guys have said, really. It does look like they've brought some quality players in. But I just don't think they'll have enough as well, like you said, George. But again, I wouldn't be surprised. I don't think it's inconceivable either. And I wouldn't be surprised if this is one we got wrong. They could surprise us, but yeah, I can't predict that, to be honest. What I've gone for is 21st.
Yeah, we've all got them going back down, unfortunately. But as you just said, anything can happen in this division, and we saw that last season with Lincoln going on to win the league when no one even had them in their minds to be even challenging for that spot. So let's see what happens with them going into this season. But moving on to Burton Albion, who stayed up just about as well, similar to Wimbledon, staying up by 5 points in 17th place. Big relief for the club because they've been in this league for 10 seasons now, so a long period of time. I remember Brighton playing them in the Championship, which I think was the last time they actually got in there, which is very interesting. But they've made a couple of signings. Matthew Dennis from Notts County is a good signing from League Two, 14 goals last season. Corey Adai on loan from Stockport in goal. Got that playoff final experience, obviously being their starting goalkeeper last season. And James Tilton, an undisclosed free from Bradford's. A couple of good signings in there, but a lot of departures there. Jake Beasley to Bradford, 13 goals, 7 assists last season's one that stands out for me. For that reason, I've got them in 23rd. I think they're going to struggle. They had a poor season last year, and they were lucky to stay up, to be honest. I think just the quality of the teams that got relegated were the reason that they stayed up. I think this time round, as I've said a lot this video, the quality of this league's very high for League One, and I just don't think they'll be able to compete personally. So I've got them in 23rd.
Yeah, I agree. I got them stone last. I think 2 seasons of finishing 20th, so they stayed up more by luck than anything else, I think. And when you look at the quality of players that they've lost, Jake Beasley is a huge loss. Really is. Can't be overestimated how much he's going to be missed at the club. And I don't see any of the replacements being at that level, frankly. And none of the replacements have really raised the overall quality of the squad. So I can't see them doing anything other than finishing last and going down, unfortunately. So 24th for me.
Yeah, again, we agree. I've got him in 23rd as well, same as you, George. Excuse me. It's just the departures. That's the biggest thing for them. Departures going out are big ones. The guys you've mentioned there. So, can't see them doing very well this season at all. As you said, they survived, skin of their teeth, maybe a bit of luck last season. So, I think with the departures going, that's just going to impact them negatively even more. So, yeah, 23rd for me going down.
Yeah, it's not looking good for them, in our opinion. A lot of outgoings, but not really enough to convince us in the incomings to be able to keep them in the division going into this season. But moving on to Cambridge United, who are a new team to this division after they got automatically promoted from League Two last season in third place under Neil Harris, who is a really good manager, and we were full of praise for him last season on the way that he got his side back into this division for this season. Promoted back to League One after I think just a season away, so not a long time away, obviously. But they had an incredible defensive record, which was the key reason they really went up to this division. 33 goals over the course of the season in a 46 league game season is a really good record, isn't it? Which impressed a lot of people. So better than any other team by at least 10 goals. So see if they can transfer that over to this season has been the question amongst a lot of League One fans. But In terms of their signings, Callum Steed's one from Barnet. He got 15 goals, 4 assists last season. 5 goals in one game on the second to last day, and he had 12 goals and assists in his last 5 games for Barnet in League Two. So he's on red hot form going into this season for them. But they've also made a couple of other signings like Isaac Keith from Everton and Patrick Bauer, as we mentioned earlier, coming over from Wimbledon. Couple of key departures like James Gibbons to Notts County, 12 goals and assists last season, and James Brophy going to Gillingham as well. So, couple of departures there too that I've mentioned. I think they'll have enough to stay up personally. Cambridge, I think I've got them in 20th place. I think they'll just about have enough because I think the manager, Neil Harris, is real. He's full of class. He's got bags of experience at the level. And he's done incredibly well to get his side promoted into this division last season. So, yeah, they impressed me. So I've got them staying up just above the relegation zone in 20th place.
No, not for me. I've got them 22nd. I think they go down. I think getting promoted last season on the last day of the season was a bit of an unexpected bonus for them in many respects. And, whilst they, in League Two, are a relatively big club, again, like Bromley at this level, they are a tiny club, although admittedly not as small as Bromley. So I can't see them staying up. The only chance they've got staying up really is if Ben Knight can carry on scoring the goals, but
yeah,
he must be attracting the interest of other clubs. I mean, he played for City in the 21 Community Shield final, so he's obviously got pedigree. And he scored 11 goals for Cambridge last season. So, I mean, they keep hold of him. There's half a chance that they can swap place with some of the clubs that I've got 18th, 19th, and 20th. But if he goes, I think they're doomed, frankly, because the changes that you talked about Steed and Bauer. I think they do bring that League One experience, but they're not really strengthening the squad in so much that it will keep them out of those relegation places. I don't think so. 22nd for me.
I've got them staying up in 19th. I think biggest thing is that you mentioned the defensive record, they've kept most of that defensive line, if not all, I looked at. So that's big. Obviously, got a good defence going into it. And they brought this Callum Steed in, who can score a few goals, which is obviously good. Replaces James Gibbons, who got 12 GA last season. I think, it's going to be a struggle for them, but I think they'll have enough just to stay up. And that's why I've got 19th.
Yeah, fair enough. Two of us have them staying up on their return to division. Simon has them going down. So let's see who's got that one right going into the season. But moving on to Doncaster Rovers, who had a really good second half of the season, which helped them strive at the table really to end the season in 14th place after they were promoted to this division the season before last. The club got what they wanted to stay in the division, so fans have been open that they can try and push on from this season. Managed to keep hold of Owen Bailey on a 3-year contract after 16 goals and 6 assists in all competitions for them. So manager Grant McCann will be open. These sorts of players can help them strive up the table, as he's had 174 matches at the club as manager. So he's got bags of experience and knows the club inside out, you would expect, with that large amount of games. In terms of the signings, Alfie May on loan from Huddersfield's a really good signing. He's had incredible seasons at this level before, especially at Charlton. Isaac Hutchinson from Bristol Rovers, 14 goals, 18 goals, 4 assists last season in League Two for a really poor Cheltenham side. So see if he can transfer that over into the league above with a lot more quality. But they've lost a couple of key departures, like Luke Molyneux's the biggest one, to Salford for an undisclosed fee. 8 goals, 11 assists for them from right wing last season. I think they'll have a little bit worse of a season, but not much that's going to be detrimental to them, going into the league below. So I've got them in 15th. I think they've invested enough. They've got a manager that knows the club. two players there that I mentioned coming in are really good signings. I think they've replaced Luke Molineux, who's a key player from the last season in abundance. So, yeah, I think they'll stay up comfortably, lower mid-table and 15th for me.
Yeah, I don't think it'd be that comfortable for them. I've got them 19th. They did well to consolidate their place in the division last year after getting promoted. So, and you look at the quality of players that they've signed and the players that have gone, they in general are replacing players that are going with better quality replacements. And Tommy Simpkin on loan from Stoke is a great signing for them. I think
Yeah,
he will ensure,
that's a good one.
they stay up. He was an England under 18 international. I know he's in the elite pathway for goalkeepers at England level, so he's obviously highly regarded. So
Yeah.
he was in goal for Walsall that first season. They blew up a couple of years ago, so he's more than capable, I think, of playing at a higher level. So to get him on loan from Stoke is a bit of a coup for Doncaster, and I think his presence and the quality of players they're adding will help them consolidate that position in the division. But I can't see him making any push towards mid-table, unfortunately. So 19th.
I think 19th is pretty harsh. I've got them in 12th. I think they'll have a better season than they did last year. Some good incomings there. Some departures that will hurt them as well, but I think incomings are better than what they've got going out, really, in
Yeah.
overall. In that aspect. So I think, 12 for me. I think they're going to build on it, but not have enough to push on too much. But Grant McCann's got a lot of experience there as well, so I wouldn't even be surprised if they went a bit higher, to be honest, Doncaster.
Yeah, they're a team that are going to be quite interesting to see how they get on. We've all got them in sort of, well, me and Sterling pretty similar, but Simon's got them just about staying up in 19th. So, be an interesting season for Doncaster. So, let's see how they get on going into the season. But moving on to Huddersfield Town, who missed out on the playoffs last season after a really poor end to the season, finishing in ninth place. 8 points away from the playoffs by the end of the season, which is a real surprise after the start of the season they had under Lee Grant, who's now gone into League Two. But in terms of who they have now, it's Martin Jury, who doesn't really ring a bell in terms of a manager. I don't think he has a lot of experience. He replaces Liam Manning, who's now left the club. But he'll be open to try and get the club back into the Championship. Couple of really good signings. Ashley Fletcher, as we mentioned earlier, coming over from Blackpool, 15 goals and 4 assists last season. And a couple of signings from the Netherlands, which I thought was interesting when I was doing my information. Elias Brockhorst from Elkstor, Rotterdam. We got 2 players from there as well, actually. 2 players from there. Dereni Seli. Sanchez Fernandez. That's his first name. Sanchez Fernandez, I'll call him. But he's from the same club. But yeah, I'll give it my best shot with these pronunciations. I'm absolutely useless at them. But a couple of outgoings as well, like Alfie May to Doncaster, just mentioned a second ago, and Lee Nichols going over to Preston on an undisguised fee is probably the standout one from the departures side of things. I've got them in 7th place. I think they'll just miss out on the playoffs, simply because I don't really know their manager, and I think the managers in this league are real high in quality, and I think you need someone that's got pedigree and not obviously he knows what he's doing, but he's proved that he knows how he can get things over the line. And I just don't think they'll have that this season. So I think they'll challenge, no question about it. But I just don't think they'll have enough for me. 7th place.
Yeah, well, I've got them in 6. I think they just about will get over the line into the playoff places.
Fair enough.
I think Ashley Fletcher is the reason I've decided to put them in there. And again, they are one of the bigger clubs in this division. They will expect to have 20,000 plus at the small majority of their games, I suspect. And I think signing a player of that quality, guaranteed to get you goals. They're a bit of a disinhearted supporter base, Huddersfield. They don't, from what I read, they don't really rate the chances of the team that much. But I think they've got the quality in the squad, frankly. And Matty Young, on loan from Sunderland, that's another good goalkeeper at this division. He was at Salford last season. They should have been champions, Salford, by all rights last season in League Two. So he was a standout player for them, and I think he'd be a standout player for them at this level. So you can see both ends of the pitch, they're getting really good quality players that could probably play at least one level above this. And with the crowd getting a bit more enthusiastic and backing them, I think they just about creep over the line. And it'd be interesting to see how these guys get on, Sanchez, Fernandez and Bronkhorst from Holland, with a bit of an unknown quality. So it'd be interesting to see, catch up with one of their games early to see what sort of quality they've got. So yeah, I'm gonna stick my neck out a little bit and say 6, although I think most Huddersfield supporters would be overjoyed at that prospect.
Yeah, I've got them in 7th, so similar. I think, yeah, as you said, they're a very big club. It's hard to say about the incomings because the guys from Netherlands don't really know too much about, but they could be quite a good bit of cop. And then, as you said about Ashley Fletcher, is going to bring them quite a few goals. You'd like to think so. I think they'll have enough to get in and amongst it, but I've got just missing out in 7th. But the stature of the club and those fans that you mentioned, it's going to be massive, pushing them forward this season. So I think they'll do well. They were in the playoffs for ages last season, but they kind of just bottled it towards the end, didn't they? So
Yeah.
I think if they build on that, then it should be about the same this season.
Yeah, me and Sterling agree there on 7th place, and Simon just has them sneaking into the playoff places in 6th place. So let's see if the side get into the playoffs or not going into this season. But moving on to a team that I would never expect to be League One side after the sort of trajectory and the Premier League title that they've had in the last couple of years is Leicester City. Double relegation. Has seen them in League One for the first time since 2008-9 season. 23rd place finish last season after a 9.6 point deduction was ultimately the reason they went down last season, but it's not an excuse. But because they were 5 points away from safety, so that points deduction technically would have kept them up, but they were absolutely shambolic last season under Gary Rowett was the manager that ended the season for them, but now have Russell Martin coming in to the side for the new season as manager, so that'll be interesting to see how he gets on. He's kept up with players like Stefan Mabadidi, which is absolutely incredible to me. After I thought he was a good player in the Premier League, personally, now playing League One football. They've made a couple of really good signings as well. Connor Chaplin from Ipswich, Liam Cullen from Swansea, Championship quality every day of the week. Wes Burns from Ipswich, Championship quality. Tommy Watson from Brighton, he's a Championship player, so be interesting to see how he gets on in League One. Lost a couple of key players, obviously, but they're expected to go like Abdul Fatawu to Ipswich, Bilal El Kanous to Stuttgart. Jeremy Monger's a big loss to Man City on an undisclosed fee. So I've got them as champions. I just can't see any other way they don't win this league. They sold how many tickets for season tickets, Simon? You had it was 30 odd thousand, wasn't it? It was quite a lot, wasn't it?
Yeah, I don't have the exact figure. It's West Ham that had sold 50,000. I don't know how many
Oh
Leicester have
yeah,
sold.
yeah, but I think these guys as well. I think they sold out a lot of tickets, and we were saying yesterday. I think it's just because you've got to expect them to win lots of games this season. So I think they'll be quite a entertaining team to watch. So yeah, I think Leicester are bound to be champions. To be honest, the quality they've brought in that are just established championship players, even arguably could play a lower end Premier League, or coming all the way down to League One. If they don't get promoted out of this division this season, it probably would be an embarrassment, and I think that would be a time where the club just thinks, what's going on here? even though it's really at the last straw at the minute. But yeah, Leicester are champions for me. I don't see it any other way.
No, it's difficult to argue with that, really. I mean, they're chronically mismanaged for the last 3 or 4 years, and I think that's come home to roost with the relegation. But hopefully, now that they're in this level, they can sort themselves out. And I was saying to George yesterday, I think the fact that they're going to win 4 games out of 5, or 3 games and draw 1 out of 5 means that they're going to have packed houses there, even if it is League One football. They're different from other clubs at this level because George was saying about Stefan Mavdivi probably could be a Premier League player, and he wouldn't be surprised to see a bid come in for him. But Leicester don't need to sell him. They've got money. They don't need to sell him. And they probably have convinced him. And Harry Souttar's another one. They're both Premier League level players, those two. So they've obviously convinced them to sign up to the process and get themselves back into that winning groove so that they can get promoted and use that momentum next season to storm the championship. That's the way I think they probably approached it.
Yeah.
So clubs in the championship, maybe even the bottom of the Prem, might be looking at those sort of players thinking, what are they doing playing in League One? But Leicester got no need to sell them. And Russell Martin, he really has undertaken a root and branch sort of clear out there with lots of the high earners going. They've obviously, as a former Premier League side, got a pretty good youth team there as well, youth development set up. So he'll be looking to some of those players. But on top of that, you've got some of the quality of players that George was talking about, which is just outstanding. So I can't see him being touched, frankly. And I think they'll be playing in front of 28, 30,000 people every other Saturday. And I think they'll win the league by February.
Yeah, well, I don't think it'll be close either. I've got them as champions. Echo what you guys have said, and also Russell Martin at this level is a great manager. He struggled in the
Yeah.
Premier League trying to do the playing out from the back with the side that he had at Southampton, but in the Championship it worked a dream, and it's going to work a dream with the quality they got in this Leicester team in League One. So I imagine they're going to tear teams apart. Obviously, spoke in detail about the fans, and they're a great set of fans. They're a loyal fan base. They've been through a lot, so yeah, I've got no doubt that they're going to be champions. And honestly, if they don't, well, champions is one thing, but if they don't get promoted, it'll be a bit of a disgrace for Leicester, really, won't it? Let's be honest. They shouldn't be
100%.
in this division as it is, but they should be going straight back up. They're there now. They should be going straight back up, and they should be going up as champions. And I think they will. Also interested to see how Tommy Watson does as well, yeah, because I think it's a bit of a make or break for him, to be honest, in terms of his Albion career, but that's a story for another day.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, to be fair. It'll be interesting to see how he gets on in this division. But we've all got, as champions, it'll be hard to see if it goes any other way, to be honest. So I have to wait and see. But we've all got as League One champions this season. Moving on to Leyton Orient, who are an interesting one after a terrible season last year, which manager Richie Wellens made very clear in his end of the season press conference. I remember we were covering. Finished 20th, 3 points and 1 place above the relegation zone. So an absolute disaster. So a big change has happened at the club, and a dramatic drop off last season after getting in the playoffs the season before last season. So they'll be hoping to try and get back up towards them places. But they've lost Don Ballard, which is a absolutely critical loss. 23 goals, 4 goals for them last season for a club record fee to Bristol City. So he was literally the reason they stayed up last season. So that's obviously a massive, massive loss. But they've replaced him with Haze Kabia, who we mentioned in our League Two episode from Grimsby, club record fee as well for him. So 24 goals last season in all comps, so he'll be banging in the goals. But they've also brought in some really good signings. Armando Dobra, we mentioned from Chesterfield last episode, incredible signing. Finn Stevens from St Pauli for an undisclosed fee. Nathan Baxter in goal from Watford. Isaac Hayden brings experience. Yusuf Akramic from Spurs, who shined on loan at Bristol Rovers last season. So some really good additions. Don Ballard obviously being the key departure, but obviously Sonny Perkins to Wigan is another one which is quite a key departure. I've got them having a lot better season. I think Richie Wellens is a really good manager, and they've invested very, very well this season with the signings I've just mentioned there. I don't think they'll make the playoffs, but I think they'll challenge for them. I've got them in at 8th place for me.
Okay, well, I haven't. I've got them 20th. I think losing Ballard is a huge one.
Fair enough.
I think you're right to highlight some of those players that they brought in, and Cabia from Grimsby is a good player, but I think the only reason they stayed up last season was because of Ballard's goals, and I don't think
yeah,
they've actually replaced that quality of striker, unfortunately. So I think the fact that they struggled so much last season, whilst it was a surprise, I think it sort of lends me to think that there's problems with the quality of the squad overall. And I might be wrong on this one, but I just don't. I look at those quality of signings and I just think, apart from Isaac Hayden, they're not really proven at a high level. And he's obviously not as young as he once was, is he? So he's 31 now, so he's probably good enough to do well at this level, but I can't see him getting into the top half, let alone challenging for a promotion, even with those signings. And I've got him in 20th.
Well, are you forgetting about Mr. Connolly?
the
They've got Aaron
Oscars.
Connolly.
Oscar's going to be fuming with you, boy.
Yeah, they've got Aaron Connolly as well. So Don Ballard going as much as that is a loss. Say what you want, but he scores goals. He scores goals as much as he's a loss at this level. Don Ballard for this team. Aaron Connolly scores goals, so they've added well to the team with that Rich that I mentioned at Bristol Rovers last season did really well. Isaac Hayden. Aaron Connolly, when he's back from his shoulder injury, I think they're going to do quite well late in Orient. They should have done better last season. I actually predict them to finish 10th. I think they're going to have a much better season than they had last year.
Yeah.
And I'd be massively surprised if they end up where they did last season. I think Connolly coming back is a huge boost, as I mentioned, and some of those signings are really good as well. So, yeah, 10th for me. I don't think they'll push on, but I think they'll be back to sort of where they should be in League One.
Yeah, I've got them in 8th, Sterling, so pretty similar to you there. I think they'll have a much better season, but Simon definitely doesn't think so. The Aaron Connolly hatred goes on into the season. But we'll have to wait and see. Absolutely despises him. When he was bagging in the goals last season, we were loving it, weren't we, Sterling? But then he got bloody injured.
Then he didn't.
We got injured, didn't he?
He got bloody injured, didn't he?
I know, he wasn't scoring the goals, was he?
Fucking hell,
When he's on the
can't do
pitch,
it
he
from an
scores
hospital bed.
goals. Yeah.
Can't do it
What are you
from
on
a
about?
hospital bed.
My fault.
Anyway, we'll move on. We'll move on to Luton Town, who were just a place off of the playoffs last season, 1 point after returning to League One after a double relegation. So a real drop off after a meteoric rise up the football pyramid, but have returned to this division last season for the first time since 2019. Are back in it again under Jack Wilshere, who had a decent start to his managerial career. You know, won the EFL Trophy at Wembley, winning the competition for the first time, and narrowly missing out on the playoffs in the last day of the season. So couple of new additions. He'll be hoping that they can make that step further going into this season. George Johnston from Bolton, Casey Palmer from Hull, turned permanent after 8 goals and an assist when joining on loan in January. So decent record for a half of the season. Harrison Ashby from Newcastle on loan, and Callum Marshall, who's a striker who's joined from West Ham. But they've lost some key players as well. Alaya Adebayo's on trial at Bristol City. Obviously, absolutely teared Brighton apart, scoring a hat trick. Chris Maxwell going to bloody hell, Uxray in France for an undisclosed fee. Zach Nelson to Wimbledon. Jacob Brown to Reading. So key departures there, but I think Jack Wilshere's a really good manager. Won them the EFL Trophy, narrowly missed out in the playoffs. I think they've added to the squad with the 4 signings there, and they've got retained a lot of the players that did really well for them last season. So I've got them in 4th place. I think they'll get into the playoffs this season, and anything can happen in the playoffs. So not sure about that bit yet, but I think they'll finish 4th place in this league season.
I've gone second. I think Jack Wilshere's second season, I think he learnt a lot of lessons last year. His first managerial role, I think it was a bit of a baptism by fire. I know he was booed at the first game, wasn't he, or the second game by the Luton
It was
fans.
ridiculous, wasn't it? Yeah,
and that winning the EFL Trophy, although it was welcome, probably turned a few heads in terms of distracting them from the league business. Although having said that, they did. I think it was a 1 defeat in 14 running into the end of the season, or 14 unbeaten even. So it didn't have that much of an effect once they got down to the final stretch. They've really just augmented the quality of the squad, and I think keeping Casey Palmer, making that loan move permanent, was vital for them. But signing players of the quality of Callum Marshall as well, they're just, if it wasn't for Leicester, they would be the standout team in terms of overall squad level, I think. And I think with the fact that they were in the Premiership, was it 4 seasons ago now? They've obviously got the financial wherewithal to compete, and they're showing that with that quality of signing. So I think they'll finish second.
Yeah, fair enough. I've got them finishing 6th. I don't know about their incomings, and whether they're good enough really to push them up to second for me. I don't quite think so, but even just to push them up the table at all, I'm not too sure. I've got them 6th, which, granted, that does push them up the table a little bit, but I don't think too much. I think they will make playoffs. I agree that Wilshere's a good manager and he's got the experience from last season now. So I think they will grow on it, and obviously the EFL Trophy is going to give them a lot of confidence. So yeah, I think 6th, a good season, but I'm not too sure about Luton. I don't think they look that strong in terms of getting promoted. But yeah, 6th, we'll see.
Yeah, we've all got them in the playoff places, so we expect them to improve on last season. Me and Sterling have them in the playoffs, but Simon has them going automatically up in second place. So let's see how they get on in League One this season. But moving on to Mansfield Town, who had a historic season, really. 10th place, which was the highest league finish they've had since 1987, and a historic FA Cup run for the reaching the FA Cup 5th round, losing to the eventual champions of England, Arsenal, giving them a really game, only losing by 2-1. Nigel Clowes, the manager, he's been at the club for 6 years now. He's been really successful there. Not a lot of ins and outs really. David McGoldrick from Barnsley's a good signing. Jonathan Russell from Barnsley as well. Michael Smith from Preston, and Liam Thompson in the midfield from Derby for an undisclosed fee. Will Evans, the key departure, going to Plymouth for an undisclosed fee. He'll be replacing Lawrence Hollage, who went to Bristol City for Plymouth. We'll get onto that later in the episode. But Mansfield, for me, I just don't think they've invested that much. Obviously, had an incredible cup run. But I think they'll stay up comfortably. I just think they'll have a little bit of a drop off, but not, a detrimental one. 16th for me. So, like the side, I think they're a really good side, but I just think they needed to invest more. I think they could have could have, after a really impressive cup run, I think they could have made that step and really tried to go out of this season. But for me, I just don't think they have.
No, I can't let your mangling of the manager's name go because it's
Yeah.
one of the most famous names in English football.
Oh,
Nigel Clough.
Clough. I said
Stinker,
Clown, didn't I?
George.
Nah, can't let that go. I've gone 13th. I think the trouble with them going on that cup run is it just helps cover the financial holes that they're going to have at this level. I don't think Mansfield are going to struggle. I think they'll come 13th. The cup run they went on, decent, and I don't think the money was necessarily there for them to spend on strengthening and push back up the table. So I think they overachieved last season, coming 10th.
Yeah, I just think it's going to be a similar sort of season for them. David McGoldrick obviously got loads of experience and good quality in this league, but I agree it's not much investment there. They finished 10th last season. I've got them finishing 11th, so a little bit of a drop off, but not much. Can't really say too much more about them, to be honest.
Yeah, fair enough. We'll see how they get on after a historic season last year, see if they can repeat how they got on last season. But moving on to MK Dons, who are another team that have been promoted to this division this season after finishing second, returning to this league via the automatic spots, returning to the league for the first time in 3 seasons. Squad's changed a little bit under Paul Warren, who's the manager, Charlie Good from Stevenage, Cohen Bramall from Luton, Ryan Wintle from Cardiff. So a couple of decent signings in there. Departures like Jonathan Lecco, Aaron Demene to Rotherham. A couple of key departures there, but not many that are, going to a higher level there. So keeping the majority of the squad, I think they'll actually do quite well at this level. I've got them in 13th. I think they'll stay up comfortably, mid-table for me. I think Paul Warren's a good manager. Couple of good signings. Sam Silviera from Middlesbrough is also a good signing. So 13th for me. I think they'll be comfortably stay in this division.
Yeah, I've got them 12th. I mean, I could care less about MK Dons. I think the fact that they're a franchise club that are made up, it still rankles with me that they even are in existence. So I haven't got anything to say about them, really. I don't think they pull up any trees. Obviously got enough quality to stay up, but I can't invest any time in thinking about them that much. So 12th.
Slough Town of League One.
Yeah, I think they'll stay up, but I don't think they're going to do significantly well. I've got them in 18th. Just there's quite a lot of departures, some incomings that look all right as well, but I don't really have too much to say. Obviously, they're newly promoted side in a tough division, so it's going to be a struggle for them. But I do think they'll have enough to stay up. MK Dons.
Yeah, fair enough. We've all got them staying up, which, ultimately will be the last straw. They'll want to be staying in this division for another season. So we've all got that happening going into this season. But moving on to Notts County, who are another team that have been promoted to this division after winning the League Two playoff final to earn promotion to this division for the first time since 2014-15 season. So they'll be hoping to stay in the division on their lengthy return to this division. Martin Patterson had a great second half of the season as manager, which helped them climb into the playoff places and then eventually, obviously, win it. A couple of good signings here, like Darius Lipsweek from Stoke City. I think he was on loan at Solihull Moors last season, so good signing there from Stoke. Dean Campbell from Northampton for an undisclosed fee. Jack Evans from Harrogate for an undisclosed fee. Lucas Smith from VPS in Finland for an undisclosed fee. So they're splashing the cash, that's for certain. But they've got a bit of money coming back into the side from Matthew Dennis going to Burton for an undisclosed fee as well. So, a couple of good signings here, but to be honest, I don't think they'll have enough. I've got on rock bottom. I'm still not convinced about that manager, even though he got promoted. I just don't know. I just don't know about him. But obviously, they can prove me wrong, but I've got them dead bass in 24th. I just don't think they have enough quality. But wouldn't be surprised to see him stay up because they showed glimpses last season. But for me, in the relegation zone in 24th.
Yeah, I think they are going to struggle, unfortunately, and losing Alessandro Yatta is a big loss for them. I don't see anybody that they brought in being of that quality either. So they've got some sort of recruitment policy that's got echoes of Crawley Town, where they use
Yeah.
data to decide on how they're going to recruit players. But then they've also used that model to recruit players from clubs like Harrogate and Newport County, which makes you wonder what data they're actually putting into this model. So
We know about the quality in the National League and non-league.
yeah, that's true. So I don't think they're going to come last. I think they will just do enough to stay up. They've got some momentum behind them, and they probably are a natural fit at this level. So I think overall, I'm going to put them at 18th.
Yeah, I've got them in 17th. I've got them staying up as well. I think some of those signings look pretty decent in terms of, don't really know any of them, but in terms, well, I know that James Gibbons actually from Cambridge. He had a good season last season. We were talking about that in terms of Cambridge, weren't we?
Yeah, League. Yeah. And
But in
League One,
terms of the
sorry, yeah. Sorry, yeah, go on.
in terms of the teams that they're coming from, seems like will be some quality in there. I just think, a few of the teams below, I just wasn't too sure on. Notts County got that momentum, and as I said, some incomings looking good. So I've gone for 17th, but I do think it'll be a struggle for them, to be honest. I think they're going to be in and amongst that relegation dogfight. I think there's a few teams like last season that are going to be firmly in it.
Yeah, it's going to be a struggle for them. We've all got them struggling. I've got them in the relegation zone, but Simon and Sterling have them just staying up above the relegation zone. So we'll see who gets that right going into the season. But moving on to Oxford United, who were relegated from the Championship last season, finishing in 22nd place, 4 points away from safety. Familiar to this league, only getting promoted out of this league in 23-24 a couple of years ago. But season full of managers. I think they had 3 managers in the end. Ended with Matt Bloomfield, but now he's left, and Aaron Ramsey's got the job as manager, which is interesting to see how he'll get on in his first proper job as manager. Not a lot of players coming in, and a lot of players going out because they've got a transfer embargo by the EFL on the club. So just the one signing from Frankie Kent from Hearts. So that's the only signing there, but they've had a lot of transfers out. I think that's about, what, 10 or so, 10 or 12. So sort of a squad rebuild there. I mean, a lot of Paleka going to Austin FC in America, Mars Harris to Middlesbrough is a big loss there. So, yeah, a lot of outgoing. So I've got them in 14th. I think they'll struggle on their return. Transfer embargo. I think they'll do enough to stay up, obviously, with the championship experience. I just think, especially coming off the bench and just on their squad now, they've got an attacker coming on that's 17 years old, and I think that's basically because they've not got enough squad depth at the minute. But the squad that they've got at the minute starting, like Jack Curry at fullback and Harris up top, I think they'll have enough to being around the mid-table spots, but, just lower mid-table for me in 14th.
I've got a little bit higher than that. I think they're going to, even though they've had the transfer embargo and Frankie Kent has done his ACL in, so even he's
Oh,
not
great.
really going to be, he's not going to be perform, unfortunately, this season. I just think they're quite unlucky in some respects to get relegated out of the Championship.
They
I
were,
think
yeah.
a bit of a rub of the green. They might have been able to keep themselves up. He's an interesting appointment as manager, Aaron Ramsey. So it'd be interesting to
Yeah,
see how he does. And really, I think you could put them anywhere from 8th to 18th. Frankly, I
yeah,
think would be
definitely.
surprised to see them finish anywhere. But I don't think they're going to go down. I don't think they're going to challenge for the promotion places. But I think they probably will do better than people are expecting.
Sterling smiling. That's not a good sign.
Just because they're keeping that sort of championship quality in the squad. So I've got them 8th.
I've got them rock bottom. I think they're going down. Rock bottom. Transfer embargo, all those players going out. Because as well that they're not compliant with EFL's salary cost management protocol. That's why they got the transfer embargo. You're saying that they kept loads of championship quality, but look at all these players going out, and one player coming in, Frankie Kent, who you just said's injured. So I'm not convinced they're going to have a good season. Aaron Ramsey, I reckon, is going to be gone by Christmas. I don't think he's going to do very well. And that's not what they need. I think they're going to be in and amongst it, whether they come rock bottom or not. I think they're going to be in and amongst a relegation scare, and he's not going to quite know what to do. That's my prediction in terms of that. And I think, yeah, Stone last. It's the
Big,
quality in this league. I can't really say they're going to do any better. I almost put Burton last and them 23rd, but I've gone for Oxford 24th.
yeah, big call, but you can understand why that transfer embargo going on, and well, basically no signings now that Simon said that Frankie Kent's just got his ACL done in. So, be interesting to see how they got on. Because of that transfer embargo. So it'll be an interesting season for them. Moving on to Peterborough United, who stayed in the division just about by 4 points, ending up in 18th by the end of the season. Really poor start to the season under Darren Ferguson, but Luke Williams replaced him and had a bit of better form, which helped them to keep him in the league. He remains as manager going into the season, but a lot of key departures like Kyrell Lisby going to Millwall, definitely their best player last season, 14 goals, 7 assists in all comps, will be a massive loss for them. Uh, so they've replaced him with, Harrison Jones from Sunderland on an undisclosed fee, Evan Weir from Walsall, but not a lot of incomings really. Add Abraham Odo going to Salford City for an undisclosed fee as well. So I think they'll have enough to stay up, but it probably will be a struggle for Peterborough, to be honest. I've got them in 18th. I think they are a good side. I like what they do with, bringing in young players and then selling them on. Lisby being a prime example of that. But this season, it looks like it's going to be a real struggle to send division. I just think their team's better than the teams I've got below them, to be fair. So, yeah, 18th for me.
I've got them in 17th. I think you're right to highlight their youth set up there because it is quite a well regarded system they've got going on there. It does bring players on, but when you're relying on that, it's hard to sort of predict what's going to happen because it doesn't necessarily mean that those players are going to be at the level of Kyle Lisby. So, I mean, it's difficult to predict what might happen with them. They've not really got the financial muscle to complete any higher level, I don't think. They've always been a pretty well run club. So I think it's another mid table obscurity season for them, 17th.
I've actually got them going down. I think 22nd. I think they just about survived last season with a player like Kyle Lisby scoring 21 goals and 21 goals and assists, contributing 21 goals and assists. You got a player like that, and you've only just survived relegation, and then now you've got rid of him. I don't see any of these guys that they brought in being of that quality, as far as I'm aware. So
Yeah.
I've got them going down. I think they're going to struggle. 22nd for me. Whether they're a well-run club or not, I just think they're going to struggle. To be quite honest.
Yeah, fair enough. I can see why you've put them in there because the departures that have happened this summer are really key to how they did last season, to be honest, because if Lisby wasn't there, they probably would be a League Two side. So, We'll have to wait and see if they can kick on, but we've all got them having a similar season, but Sterling has them in the relegation zone, so we'll see how they get on this time round. Moving on to Plymouth Argyle, who had an absolutely horrendous start to the season in the relegation zone, basically up until Christmas, but ended up the season finishing in eighth, just 2 points away from the playoff places. Fans wanted him gone, Tom Cleverley, but we said if you give him time, he'll pay off, and it did, but not quite enough. I think the start of the season they had was just ultimately definitely the reason they just didn't end up in them playoff places. But as I said earlier, Lawrence Arladge has gone to Bristol City for an undisclosed fee. Absolutely massive loss. 21 goals, 8 assists, and all comps for them last season. So humongous loss. Will Evans from Mansfield replaced him. It looks like 11 goals, 2 assists last season. But they've also brought in Alex Hartridge from Burton, Wes Harding from Millwall, Harry White from Stevenage, Murphy Cooper in goal from QPR. So a couple of decent signings there, a couple of changes in the goalkeeping department as well. 2 goalkeepers out, 2 goalkeepers in. I think they're a really good side. I love their fans. I watch Pie Face's match day vlogs every single week. It's absolutely brilliant. But yeah, I've got them in third place. I think they'll have a really good season. Tom Cleverley's proved he can do it, especially in the second half of the season. So I think they can kick on now that they know how he's going to play. It's quite a familiar squad. So yeah, third place to me. I think they'll do really well.
Yeah, I've got them exactly the same. I watched the first half of their League Cup game against Exeter on Monday night, and they were talking about the goalkeeping situation. It's obviously an area that they thought was at fault for their disappointing start to last season. So they've root and branch reformed that area of the club. I think really for them, they've lost Laurent Talage, but if where they can keep hold of Bim Peppel is the
great striker.
real question for them, because losing both of them, I think, will make me temper where I think they're finished. But at the moment, I think they've got, obviously, Tom Cleverley's got the experience now at this level. He's got a good quality squad. They've augmented it with, like you were saying, Will Evans. I think he's a good replacement for Lawrence Talage. So if they can keep hold of Bim Peppel, I'll be really confident about third place. If they lose him, not so much, but I'm going to go with third at the moment because he's still there.
Yeah, I echo most of what you guys say. I've got them in fifth though, just a couple places below. I think they have a good season. They grew quite a lot under Cleverly last season, didn't they? After that start, and if they didn't have that, I think they would have definitely made the playoffs and probably done quite well. So I predict that for them this season, but fifth for me. Don't see any higher really with the teams who've got above them.
Yeah, fair enough. We've all got them in the playoff places, so we think they're going to improve on the finish that they had last season under Tom Cleverley. So we'll see if that prediction pays off this season. Moving on to Reading, who finished bang on mid-table last season in 12th place after being in the playoff race for large parts of the season, but the club's sacked Noel Hunt at the start of the season after a poor start. Liam Richardson replaced him and had a positive impact at the club, giving fans hope going into this season. 4 seasons in a row at this level. Hopefully that Richardson can help them be a championship club again for the first time since 22-23. Great signings coming in like Kyrie Slivsby from Colchester, 11 goals, 7 assists from out wide in League Two, so a good signing there. Odawako Godwin Mali from Burton Albion for an undisclosed fee at full. That's a good signing. Jacob Brown from Luton and Josh Stokes from Bristol City. So 4 really good signings there. Got some players going to AC Horsens in Denmark. I'm just going to call in Kelvin with my pronunciations this episode, so you can see it on the doc. So he got 10 goals for them last season from striker Mohamedi Kamara going to Turkey. We've got some player going to Bosnia. So we've got players going all over the shop from Reading, but I like Reading. I always have, and I think they're a championship club, so I think they'll have a chance at getting promoted in sixth place in the last playoff spot. I wouldn't be surprised if they finished lower, to be fair, but I just think that they've got the quality, the fans are class. I think that now that the owners are a bit better, they've been able to bring in the players that they have been able to bring in. So yeah, I've got them in sixth place. I've got higher hopes for Reading going into the season. So yeah, sixth place for me.
I've got a ninth. I think they're only just emerging from the financial straits they got themselves into. So although they've got rid of a lot of deadwood from that squad and brought in some decent replacements, Kyrie Slisby from Colchester is a standout one. I just don't think they've got the overall squad quality to challenge for the playoff places, but I think they are good enough to maintain that sort of upper mid-table sort of position. So I've got them ninth.
I've got them a bit lower. I've got them in 13th. I agree. They've only really just come out of that situation. There's a lot of departures. Lisby is a good signing coming in, but I can't see them really pushing on for playoffs, to be honest. I think it's going to be a similar season to last season. They came 12th. I've got them coming 13th. But I think, again, they'll be a bit more stable throughout the season than they were last season because they started off really poorly.
Yeah, fair enough. We've all got them, in mid-table, in the playoff places or near it anyway. So I think they're going to have a decent season, pretty similar to last, but some of us have been pushing on. So see if they can do that this time round. But moving on to Sheffield Wednesday, who finished last season on 0 points after a hefty points deduction of 18 points, which with the old owners absolutely ruining the club. But now they've got new owners who go into the season starting on 0 points. So they're going to start on 0 points the way they ended it last season. Henrik Pedersen's been backed by the board after a really difficult start to management at the club, but going into the season, they didn't really have a good chance really because his team was terrible, wasn't it? And the club was in a absolute mess at that time. But new owners, fans coming back into the stadium, old badge returns. It's really exciting time for the club. Some incredible signings here. Ricardo Santos from Swansea, Harry Gray on loan from Leeds, Barry Bannon returning to the club from Millwall. You got Ashley Maynard Brewer in goal from Dundee. Tyler Onyago from Everton's a good signing as well. But couple of key departures as well. Engelson from Stoke from undisclosed fee. Nathaniel Chalobah going to Charlton as well. So I've got them in second place. I think the fans returning, the incomings they've got coming in, and just the structure of the club. I think they're a really massive club for this division. Definitely not a League One side. So I think they'll go automatically back up in second for me.
Yeah, I've got them fifth. The record season ticket sales at Hillsborough, so a lot of enthusiasm there. And we spoke last season about the reaction of the fans once the ownership group that had got them into trouble left. I think they went into the club shop and spent £250,000, didn't they, on
Yeah, it's incredible.
the Saturday after. So they're a huge club at this level. Don't think they've necessarily rebuilt the squad to the length that they can challenge Leicester or Luton for those automatic places, but they should certainly feature in and amongst it. So I've got them fifth. Player that I'm really looking forward to watching is Louis Barry, who they've signed from Villa.
Yeah,
Great
I don't know
player.
if you know about him, but he was on the books of Barcelona at one stage.
Yeah, yeah.
scored against Liverpool in the League or FA Cup, didn't he?
Yeah, when they played their 21s.
Yeah, so he could be the sort of signing that galvanises them, maybe even gets them in a position where they can challenge Luton for that second place. But he's not really proven himself, I don't think, in English football at the moment. So I'm going to just leave them in fifth. Massive club, huge support, interesting signings. Fifth place for me.
I'm pretty sure Louis Barry's played in the EFL as well. for Stockport, I think, potentially.
Yeah, Stockport. Yeah,
Done quite well there, I'm pretty sure. I think they personally have rebuilt this squad really well. And actually, last season, I said it, didn't I? Although they had a torrid season and obviously dealt such a difficult hand, I think they showed so much character and did quite well in some of those games. Like, they didn't go out with a whimper, they went out with a fight. Um, Barry Banham coming back is massive, knows the club inside out. Still can't stand him for what he done to the Albion, but great player at this level. Um, Harry Gray, Louis Barry, Ricardo Santos. I think there's enough quality there for them to go straight back up, really. But I've got them in third. So that's playoffs, isn't it? It's just two automatics in this division.
yeah,
Not the three in League Two. So I've just got them missing out because of one other side who we'll get on to in a minute. But I do think they'll win the playoffs. To be honest, I could probably say that now. That I think they will go up, either in the automatics or in the playoffs. But I've just got them coming third this season. Um, and as much as they've given us heartbreak as Brighton fans, I do want Sheffield Wednesday to be back in the Championship because where they belong, really.
yeah, definitely. They're definitely a championship side, aren't they? But they've made some great signings, and we all think they're going to be back in the playoffs, or at least going up automatically going into the season. So we'll see how they do get on. Moving on to Stevenage, who had a really good season last year, into the playoff places in sixth place, but losing in the playoff semi-final to Stockport. Most successful season since 2011-2012. So Alex Ravel as manager had a really successful stint there since he's been at the club since 2024. So he'll be hoping he can take it to the next level, maybe even take a push into the championship, which is what fans are hoping for. Three signings here: Josh McGuinness from Exeter, Terry Taylor from Northampton, and Ollie Sanderson from Fulham. So not a lot of incomings, but a lot of departures. I think that's nine there. Harvey White to Plymouth, Charlie Good to MK Dons, and Dan Sweeney as well. Tyreek Simpson going as well. So a couple of the key departures there. I don't think they'll repeat what they did last season. To be honest, I've got them in 17th. I think they've sold a lot of their decent players, and they've replaced them with players that don't really shout out at me. So I think they'll stay up, no question about that. But I've got them in 17th.
Yeah, I've got them 14th. I think you highlighted the fact they've lost key players, and I don't think that's going to help the mood of the fans. Charlie Good and Harry White are the two standout losses, I don't think, and they've not replaced those two with any quality at the same level, I don't think. Alex Ravel's a good manager, but I think, there's only a certain amount of aggravation that he's going to take off the supporters because he's been given loads, even though they went on that run into the playoffs last season. He's still getting lots of grief off the supporters
Oh,
who felt they
really?
should be doing better. So the fact that they've sold two of their best players and not really replaced them
Yeah.
doesn't make you feel confident about A, where they're going to finish, and B, whether they can keep hold of him, because he's more than capable of going to another club at this level and doing just as well, I think. He's a good manager. So if they can keep hold of him, I would put them at 14th. But if that goes south for them, I think they could drop down lower personally. But I'm going to go with 14th at the moment.
I've not got it as quite as big of a drop off. I've got them in ninth. I think it was a bit of a surprise them sneaking into the playoffs last season, to be honest, with some of the clubs that are in this division or were in this division. And clubs that are in this division now, I just think are stronger. They've not really recruited that well. So I can't put them any higher really than ninth. I think that's fair. But again, I wouldn't be surprised if they were a little bit lower than that. A couple of those teams below them that I've got, maybe Reading, Doncaster, I think or Mansfield could go above them. But that's where I've got them in ninth place.
Yeah, fair enough. We've all got them doing a bit worse than they did last season, but that's expected with as good a season as they had last season, their best season since 2011-12. So see if they can repeat that this time round, but we don't think they will. Moving on to Stockport County, who had a really good season, finishing third place, but eventually falling short in the final to Bolton Wanderers. Exact same position as the season before, so fans will be hoping that they can make that one step further and finally make it into the Championship this season. But under new management, Dave Challinor, left the club at the end of the season as manager, and he's now been replaced by former Rochdale boss Dave McNulty after a successful season guiding Rochdale back to the EFL last season in the National League. So a lot of changes at the club this season, some really good signings here. Ollie Watmouth on loan from Man City, who was the manager's goalkeeper at Rochdale last season, so he's made that jump up. Jason Adigan, obviously from Chelmsford, we know is a really good signings there. Harry Wood from Shelbourne for an undisclosed fee. Tom Wilson-Brown from Leicester for an undisclosed fee. Ryan Glover's a good signing as well, but yeah, not a lot of key. Odin Bailey's a key departure actually to Portsmouth, and Callum Connolly we mentioned earlier to Bradford's quite key as well. I've got them in fifth place. I think they'll get the playoffs. I just think the 4 teams I've got above them are a little bit better this season, but yeah, I think they'll comfortably get in the playoffs, to be fair. I think they're a really good side and have shown that over the past couple of seasons. So, fifth place for me.
Yeah, I've got them seventh. I just think there's better teams than them. But they have, in Dave Challoner, got a manager that's going to get the best out of that squad. And they brought in some good quality players, I think. So the overall quality of this squad remains high. Losing in the playoff final last season's a bit of a choker, and I think that can affect clubs. So I think there'll be a bit of a drop off, and they've had a steady rise over the last 12 years. Coming from non-league obscurity back into the Football League and getting themselves cemented in League One. So they're I think they've reached almost their natural ceiling, if you see what I mean, and getting into the playoffs and the playoff final was probably about as far as you might expect them to go. So I see a slight drop off this season, despite the manager and the quality that they've brought in. So I'm going to go with seventh.
I've got them much higher than that. I've got them in second. I think they're going to do one better than they did last season. I think they're going to go up automatically. Some good incomings there for them, not too many outgoings that are going to affect them that much, I don't think, although the ones you mentioned are big misses, but the incomings look good, and they've retained probably their 2 best players in Sadiba and Norwood, and the core of that group that did so well last season. So I do think they'll go up automatically. Again, they could swap with Sheffield Wednesday, but then I'll back them to go all the way this time in the playoffs if they did end up with that in there. But I've gone for it in second for Stockport. I think they're going to have a good season, and I think they're going to build on what they did last season. They didn't really do themselves justice in that second half of that playoff final, but they did really well in the first half. That Sadiba is a handful he scored in that game. I just think they're going to grow from that, really.
Yeah, fair enough. They're a good side, and we've all got them quite high up there, but Simon's got them outside the playoffs. So I've got them in the playoffs, and Sterling's got them going up automatically. So we'll see who gets that one correct. But moving on to Wigan Athletic, who finished 16th last season after a lot of scares to be a relegation threatened side throughout the campaign. But Gary Caldwell joined the club as manager from Exeter City in February, replacing Ryan Lowe, and he made a massive impact when he joined the club to keep in the division by 7 points by the end of the season. But have lost some key players this summer, like Callum Wright leaving to Hibernian after 8 goals, 7 assists from centre mid for them last season, which is a key loss, and Harrison Batoni going to Chelsea for an undisclosed fee, 19 years old, got 4 goals for them last season as well. So a couple of key departures there. Also, Sam Tickle going to Bristol City for an undisclosed fee, but replaced him with a few good signings. Sonny Perkins from Leyton Orient, Connor Barrett from Walsall, Max Power from Bradford's got bags of experience. Ryan Trevitt from Brentford loan turned into a permanent. So yeah, I think Wigan will have enough to stay up after scares of last season. I've got them in 19th. I think they'll have scares of relegation again, but I think they'll have enough with Gary Caldwell's manager. He's a good manager, and the signings they've brought in, like Max Power, if they get into relegation scares, he'll have the experience to be able to guide his side in outside of the relegation zone. So 19th for me.
Similar, I've got them 16th. I think he's a good manager. He obviously had a huge impact when he came in February, so he's had a chance to evaluate the squad in the close season. I think he's changed it to a much more youthful setup. And it's difficult to, like I said before, with young players, it's difficult to sort of predict where that might lead them, really. They're a relatively big club at this level. They've been in the Prem, won the FA Cup, probably a championship level side. So you wouldn't be surprised if he gets it right to see them finish higher than that. But with so many goings and incomings and outgoings, and I just don't think that you can predict anything other than relative mid-table obscurity. So I'm going with 16th.
Yeah, I've got him 16th as well, same as last season. Not really anything to add personally. Just think 16th is going to be a struggle for him again, but I don't see him getting relegated.
Yeah, we've all got them staying up, so we think they're going to have the safety to be able to be a League One side again next season. So let's see if that prediction pays off. But moving on to our final team in League One is Wycombe Wanderers, who had glimpses of being in the playoff places last season, but eventually fell short in 11th place, 12 points off the playoffs by the end of the season. Sort of got affected by Mike Dodds at the start of the season, was sacked by September, and Michael Duff came in and had a really positive impact on the club when he joined. So he's kept a lot of the players, retained a lot of the players, and added to the squad as well to help improve it. So he'll be hoping to get the side back into the Championship for the first time since 2021 with the additions he's made, like Corley Woodrow from Luton, striker, earned a permanent move after 12 goals and 4 assists on loan. So they've brought him back to the club. Amir Tezgale from Stoke, 15 goals, 4 assists for Crewe last season. Silko Thomas out wide from Leicester. Connor Hazard in goal as well. So a couple of good signings there. Not that many departures that shout out at you. I've got him in 10th. I really like the manager. I think he's a really good manager, and they've made a couple of really good signings here. I think they'll have glimpses of pushing for the playoffs again, but not enough to get in there for me. I've got them in the top 10 in 10th place, one better than last season.
Yeah, almost the same. I got them 11th. I mean, they're the Chelsea of League One, I think. They got such a huge squad, and it doesn't look like they're doing that much to sort of change the depth of the squad in terms of quality, but just maintaining the numbers. They signed Steve Cook, for example, who played 350 odd games for Bournemouth, which you think would be a great signing, but he's mid-30s, 35, 36. And it makes you wonder. I mean, obviously going to build the team around him, but it makes you wonder if they really understand what you need at this level. But I think they will do okay. I think they will finish 11th.
Yeah, I've got Wickham probably unfairly actually looking at it, but I've got them in 15th. It's just the way it's gone with my predictions. I'm probably looking at the incomings, those 2 signings there, Emre Tezgel and Corley Woodrow, seem like they're going to bring them quite a lot of goals, which will probably boost them quite high up, quite further up than I've got them. But I've got them in 15th. It's just the way it's gone for me, really, with my predictions. But to be honest, what I'm saying is I wouldn't be surprised if they come about 10th or flirting with the playoffs, like you said. So, yeah, that's where I've gone. But I reckon that's one where I look back on and say, yeah, I've got that one wrong.
Yeah, fair enough. Wickham an interesting one, so be interesting to see how they get on with, the manager having a full pre-season and a couple of good signings in there as well. But that's it for the League One predictions. We hope you have enjoyed it, as we return to the League One fixtures on Saturday, so we look forward to having a look at them. Championship next episode, so look out for that as we've got 2 prediction videos to go before we get back to the usual of looking for all the games throughout the game weeks in all the 7 leagues we cover. We look forward to it, and we'll see you then. Bye-bye.
Cheers, bye.
Bye.